international investing conversation since we are in Africa, and we got to thank the good folks of Benin. But this is interesting from a business standpoint. So we actually met with the president of Benin, and very gracious with his time. And he, well, we knew this before, but we met with a few different people from their administration. They have a program that allows people of African descent to have citizenship. And the reason why they're doing that is because they want to attract more foreign investment, specifically Black American investment into the country. So, you know, Market Mondays is a show that we talk about stocks and stuff like that a lot, but a lot of times people are interested in other forms. So I think it's good to just to kind of keep them abreast of what's going on internationally. And that, like I said, that was a high level conversation that we actually had with a president. The first is actually the first president that we've ever met with.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So first head of state that we had a conversation with, and he was very big on that as far as like, you know, spreading the message, saying that, you know, this is something. And then he also said like, okay, like what are best practices when dealing on the continent, which we kind of went over before, as far as like, do your due diligence, have a lawyer, make sure you know working with the right people, stuff like that. But
how do you know if, really quick, if they're the right people? Because there's so many people that are going to Africa and acting like they are an advocate for the continent. How do you filter out what's real versus what's fake?
Well, for me personally, I always like to see proof of concept. A lot of people say that they do something. That's why even people that we work with, as far as Alvin and Kwame, like we got to see their actual physical office, a physical newspaper that they print, right? A physical recording studio, a physical, like these are things that, you know, to me, I feel like if you are somebody that's portraying yourself as doing something major, you should at least be able to show somebody something tangible as opposed to just ideas. A lot of people will just spin ideas and words.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like that to me, that's that. And then of course, you know, as far as I'm old school, really, like I asked for referrals. That's how I was like, you know what I mean? Like I granted we are in a little bit more, we're in a little bit more privileged situation because we have a lot of relationships. So, you know, we have the ability to like, but no matter who you are, you can ask different people and network. And, you know, if 10 people have the same story about somebody, then that usually good or bad, by the way, good or bad, by the way. Right. So that to me is something that I think is, and then also doing your own personal research. That's the good thing. That is a lot of like, okay, for instance, if you want to buy real estate, right, in Nigeria, right, there's a lot of research that you can do yourself on even ChatGPT, asking it. Okay,
GPT and Perplexity for sure.
What are the real estate laws? What are the property taxes? What's the biggest issues that are faced by real estate investors? Like, you know what I mean? So just like stocks, you know what I mean? You have to educate yourself. But man, as far as investing for investors, not only is I think everybody at this point knows that there's opportunity in Africa, right? That's pretty obvious. But they definitely, like countries like Benin and other countries, they're making it a main emphasis to target Black Americans.
Yeah, I mean, most of you probably saw Ciara here. Well, Ciara in Benin a week ago. You saw Ludacris and Gabon. Even Spike Lee has been named the ambassador to Benin. So you're starting to see the traction. I think everything Shadi said is 100% spot on. You ask, but you also become very observant. One of the things I like to do when we travel to foreign countries is I just look at signs, right? And if I look at developments, you start to see the same name over and over and over again. Now it's like, all right, well, those people are doing something, right? And if you ask around, you figure out who's government funded projects and who has private funding for their projects. And then you just start asking and start compiling, you start seeing names. Then you can kind of get a sense of like who's who, right? Like that proof of concept is important. We were just in Benin, and as I'm riding around, I'm seeing a billboard for a stadium. Okay, I saw the name. Okay, somebody is building an office building. All right, it's the same name. You start to put the pieces together, see who the movers and shakers inside of the private sector. And then obviously you ask around, and luckily for us, we have resources that we can talk to who's in government and what are the projects they're working on. But you got to be observant. A lot of times people get in their Uber, or they get in their car service, and they right into their phones. And you're missing everything that's you're driving past.
Talk to the driver and get their perspective on what's going on locally.
The drivers know, because they're going through those routes and they live in the areas. Obviously, they know the local governance of things that are happening. You got to be watch everything. Watch all the signs, watch all the billboards, because it could be telling you something.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to get that little, and then I will say one thing too, that where we're at right now is a little different because there is a language barrier.
Yes. So
you gotta be aware of that too. Like, these are the first countries that we went to where they actually speak French as primary language. So in Cote d'Ivoire and in Benin and a lot of other countries, they are French. They were former French colonies, so they speak French. So that's something to be aware of, right? Mm-hmm. There is a language barrier usually, so knowing that, as opposed to a country like Ghana, which is an English country, and Nigeria is an English country, and Kenya is an English country, and Rwanda used to be a French-speaking country, and they switched over to English. So that's important too. Knowing where you're going as far as stuff like that is nuanced, but it makes a big difference.
Which you can research in Perplexity, ChatGPT 04. If you ask for a thorough breakdown, because I was looking last night, top 5 search for the video. I said, wait, what happened to Lauren?
Yeah, we had the conversation about AI in the sense where that language barrier is soon going to be eradicated. Where we're going to have the agent where we translate on our chest, and it's a chip or it's a device, and it speaks in our language, and it converts it.
Or maybe you can I'm not gonna lie. Maybe.
Well, somebody's gonna do it. It's gonna happen in the next 3 to 5 years. But you can see how easy AI could step into a place that was, hey, what do we do here if I don't have a translator, right? I can't. I mean, people use Google Translate, but it's still through the phone. When you can actually use your voice and speak in your language and have it converted and it comes back to you, that's gonna be a game changer, man. I'm looking forward to that.